Well, it's 3:00 and my special guest is in the studio. Good afternoon, Faye. How are you?
Good afternoon, Ruma. I'm really well, thank you.
Good. Now, as I mentioned to our listeners today, that you are a trained therapist and counsellor.
Yeah.
So could you just give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm called Faye Carole, and I came here to Spain in November of last year with my partner and my dog. I came from Manchester in the UK. Mm-hmm. I am a trained therapist. I've been a therapist for 25 years now. I'm a therapist, a life coach, I'm an EFT therapist, and I teach mindfulness and meditation, and I'm an end-of-life doula. So quite a lot of things.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
And some of these I haven't even heard of, so it's going to be really interesting to hear about what you do. Now, before we go on to, what you do, mm-hmm. What was the reason that maybe you decided to go into this profession?
Well, I think that I sort of found my way there by accident, really. I was training to be a nurse back in 1991, and sadly a year after that I lost my husband, and I carried on with my training, and then I had a break. Much needed break, and during that break I just happened to go to the library and saw this ad for counselling skills, and as I was training to be a nurse and I was a mature student, I'd had experiences of the NHS, I'd had experiences of helping people, and I felt there was something missing in that. In the training they never really addressed emotional care, and I needed to do that. I needed to do that right, because I thought that was so important. And even though I'd been a patient and I had good physical care, I always felt that there was no emotional care there. Yeah. So I thought, I'll do this. So I started doing it. Absolutely loved it. No intention to be a counsellor. I was training to be a nurse. And then from there, I went and did the certificate, which was a year, still loving it. And then from there, I went and did the final year, which is the diploma. And then from there, and in order to become a counsellor, you've got to do practice. I had a placement in a GP surgery where I worked as a practice nurse eventually. And I started doing some counselling, and then I just carried on. And I've carried on because... well, it's not really like work to me. I love it so much. It just gives me so much back. Yeah, I think I get more back than I give.
Yeah, well, you would hope that would be what a counsellor would do, wouldn't you? Yeah. Or feel that, total empathy for the people that they're working with. So now all of us have heard of counselling. What is lifestyle coaching and mindfulness? So basically, lifestyle coaching is recognising that our lifestyle choices, so everything that we do every day of our life, like from getting up in the morning to what we eat, to what we drink, to what we take into our body, to how we think, to who we meet, to who we listen to. Wow.
Even just your feature just now, that was like, just lifted me, lifted you, and I'm sure it lifted your viewers, your listeners. Even that, it's like what we feed ourselves with. So lifestyle coaching is like, I suppose it ties into counselling. It's like it's showing us all that, it is what our choices, it is how we live our life, because that has great impact on how we feel on a day-to-day basis. So oftentimes people can feel like so lost and they don't know what to do, and they're fed up and they want to make a change. And sometimes it can just be one little thing, because everything impacts another.
Absolutely. And I guess sometimes people feel overwhelmed because when they're in it
and they're feeling really down, maybe the job isn't what they want, they're not earning enough money, they've got kids, and, they're just so stressed and that they can't get their heads together.
That's right.
And this is probably when they need some help, like the help that you can offer.
Yeah. And I think often people feel, and I was the same, I was there, and I remember being there in my life at one point. And I was like many people, I thought, oh, no, I'm coping, I'm doing this, I'm getting on with it. I don't need to get any help, and we do that a lot of the time, and we believe we're coping. And yes, we do cope. We all find a way to cope.
Sure.
So it's not about coping. I think it's about when we have difficult times, we will find a way to cope, and we will find a way to survive them. We are survivors.
But we want to do more than that, don't we?
It's like then we want to thrive, and that's when we become happy.
Yes.
When we're not just surviving, we're actually thriving.
And is this something that you can help people with? This is something that you have done. Is that so? What is mindfulness then? Is mindfulness thinking more about?
Mindfulness is really meditation. It's about presence. It's really about, in a very, very simple term, it's about learning to be still and learning to be with what is.
Yeah.
Because we've got busy lives. We've got busy lives, rushing here, there, jobs, children, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we never stop. And particularly when we're having a tough time and we're that overwhelmed. And sometimes when we have something happen in our lives that's painful, we can often have the idea that we've got to ignore it and distract ourselves and run away from it. And in many ways, that's often the worst thing you can do. And then we can get into this habit of constantly running. And mindfulness is really about stopping and breathing and finding a space. And even though that sounds really simple, for most people who are not practiced at it, it's a big thing and quite a difficult thing to do.
And also, I find that when you've got your head in a black hole, that you can't it's not easy for somebody to say, oh, just snap out of it. Oh, everything will be fine. Think of something else.
Not at all.
That doesn't work.
Not at all.
So you have to
counter, actually.
Absolutely. Because then you kind of feel a bit of a pressure on you that, I'm...
Something wrong with me.
Yeah. Or I'm bringing everyone down.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to get out of this.
That's right.
So I guess it's like you offering a service that people can put into practice themselves.
That's right.
Without having to feel pressure.
That's right.
Coming from anywhere else.
That's entirely right.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer, and the model of counselling that I've always used, and this is my training, that we all have within us all the answers, all the resources. We're amazing like that. But sometimes we get overwhelmed and we can't see the wood for the trees.
Sure.
So basically counselling is that space where you can see the wood for the trees. You can. It's not advice giving. It's not me telling somebody how to do it. It's them finding their own way to do it, their own solutions, their own next step, if you like.
Absolutely.
And sometimes people think that it's about it's just about talking. No, it's not about talking. Very few of us, when we're talking, are not being listened to. We're not being heard. It's about being heard, and it's about hearing yourself.
Sure.
It's about hearing yourself. So when you talk to a professional, that professional, it's like they hold a mirror up to you, and you see you. And you think, oh my God, I do that. Oh, I didn't know I did that. Or, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
And then you've got the choice to make some choices and change something if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you also said that you have trained in EFT.
That's right.
And tapping.
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of these, so I don't know, maybe some of our listeners might do, but could you give us an insight into what they are?
Some people, I think, will have heard of it. I'm quite surprised how many people have. However, I know a lot of people won't have done.
So suppose it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. That's what EFT stands for. And the best way to describe it is it's a combination of, say, acupuncture, which some people may know of, Reiki, so that's working with energy, and talk therapy. So it combines those two things.
Wow. So do you do all three at the same time?
Well, I basically am talking to the person so that they can start to talk about what's bothering them, for example. And then when I'm sensing what it is that's bothering them, then I invite them to tap. Now, I don't touch them. I just do it, and they copy me. And what happens here is when we take our mind and our focus to something that's bothering us, and it doesn't matter how long ago this happened, it could have happened yesterday, it could have happened 20 years ago. If it's not healed, if it's not processed, that's a counselling word, we will feel that anxiety, we'll feel that pain, because the wound is still there.
Yeah, it's not been dealt with.
It's not been dealt with. And so when you talk about it, if it's not healed, it will make you feel anxious, upset, you know.
Sure.
And once you're in that, what we call that space, that energy field, then by tapping, you are dissipating it, you're clearing it.
Okay, now, you've just demonstrated, so can you tell us, for, you know, obviously this is radio, can you tell us what you're doing?
Well, basically what I'm doing is I'm tapping on various points in my body, the top of my head.
So you're literally taking your hand,
my hand,
and we're tapping our head.
Yeah. And then I'm taking my fingers and I'm going to where my eyebrow begins.
Why is this a reason to go for these particular places?
These particular points, there are dozens of points on the body, acupressure points. And EFT uses just these ones that I'm showing you now, which are basically on the face, the collarbone, under the arm, and the top of the head. I just use 7 points.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's for ease. And what I'm doing here is, as I'm tapping, so these points that I'm tapping on are where the meridians join, where they turn. So if you looked at a map of the meridian points, you'd get lots of little crossroads. And these tapping points are where they turn, so they're significant points on the body.
Okay.
And they send little electromagnetic signals to the brain, the area of the brain called the amygdala, that creates the stress. So we get into that stressful place, then we tap and we bring it down. We get into that stressful place, then we tap and we bring it down. And then what happens then, it neutralises, so that when we think of the problem, it doesn't affect us. It neutralises it.
Okay.
So we don't forget things. It doesn't take memory away, but it changes the way we feel about it. So, for example, if it's something that's making us nervous, and in that anxiety that stops us from doing things in our life that we really want to do, then it's a problem, isn't it? You know, because we all want to get on with our life and have a good time. So if it's stopping us from doing something we really want to do, then it's a good thing to address that. Because otherwise we'll always be wanting to do something and holding ourselves back.
So, I mean, it sounds simple that you just touch these points, but is it something that you would have to do on a long-term basis before you feel a benefit, or would you?
Not at all. So, you can have immediate benefit.
Okay.
You can have immediate benefit. I mean, I use it in therapy, you know, so obviously I use it in therapy, and what I'm doing in therapy is holding a space for somebody to get to those difficult points, because we have like a guarding in us, so we won't necessarily take ourselves to our most painful spots because we're always trying to block them away.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is where counselling helps.
Yeah.
However, in everyday life, where we're feeling some anxiety, it's a really good self-help tool.
Yeah.
And people that have therapy then, I've got this tool, for the rest of their life they can use it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that you will sit with somebody like a counselling session and you will talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
you'd be tapping. Yeah. Or
Okay.
appropriate spots where we'd be tapping. I also teach mindfulness and I use tapping in that as well. I haven't gotten round yet because I've only just arrived here and it wasn't my plan to setting up any groups. And I'll talk later about maybe, what my ideas may be in relation to that,
absolutely.
For people who just want to kind of think, I'd like to have a go with that, but I don't want counselling, but I'd just like to have a go with that, then that's an option as well. It's not about having a problem as such, because we all have difficult times. We all get anxious. You know?
Totally.
Even me.
Yeah, no,
and I am a very laid-back person, but of course I'm a human being and I get scared about stuff. Yeah.
Right. If we will talk about something that I found quite fascinating in just a minute. I need to play some adverts and then we'll come back to this. So...
Restaurant Los Gallegos, your local gastro bar located on the Paseo del Ruete. A wonderful venue and setting for delicious foods with specialities in both fish and meat dishes. Come along and taste what Javi prepares. A fabulous chef with a smile always for his clients. Book a table at Los Gallegos. Call 968 155906.
For the best English homemade meals in the area, it's just around the corner. Black Bull Bar and Grill, located on Campersol in front of the petrol station, for food that tastes great and the coolest drinks around. All served up in a fun, friendly atmosphere. The Black Bull Bar and Grill kitchen, if you order chips, we only use fresh hand cut. With quiz nights, karaoke, soul and Motown nights, and even play your cards right. Look no further than the Black Bull Bar and Grill. Check out our amazing specials online with Facebook, The Black Bull Bar and Grill.
Landline for the Black Bull in Campersol is 968 972 026.
The Murcia Health Service has introduced telematic, over the phone, consultations with doctors and medical professionals. Handled correctly, the process is very efficient. It will also change the way healthcare is managed in the future. And don't worry, if you're not fluent in Spanish, Medical Link interpreters provide bilingual assistance to help UK nationals manage their healthcare in the Murcia region. Primary subscription is €13 a month. For a free info pack, please call 968 212 050. That's 968 212 050. Or email us at medicallinkinfo@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook. Registration for the Matharon area ends June the 30th.
Right, if you have just joined us, my special guest is Faye Carole, who is a trained therapist, lifestyle coach, EFT and tapping therapist, a mindfulness teacher, and this I find quite fascinating, a death doula. Now, please tell us, what is a death doula?
Okay. A death doula is, I suppose a doula is an old name for a midwife, basically. And, there have been birth doulas around for quite some time now, especially in the USA, and it's becoming more and more common in the UK. And I don't really know very much about Spain because I've not been here very long. However, the doula is a midwife, so the doula helps the child come into the world. And on the other end of the spectrum, the death doula helps the person to exit the world.
Okay.
So I am somebody who will journey with somebody who is exiting the world, if you like, who is dying.
So, have you done many?
I haven't done many. I'm only just recently trained.
Sure. Can you give us an example?
I can give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it can be anything from
For example, again, I don't know what it's like in Spain, so I'm sorry that I'm not here very long and I don't know a great deal about this.
Don't worry.
But I certainly know in the UK that talking about death and dying is not something we do really, really well. In fact, it's something that we tend not to do. And therefore, you know, people who may want to talk about death and dying, particularly people who have got a terminal diagnosis, or they just getting to that point in their life when they're thinking about the end of their life and wanting to put their house in order, wanting to think about their funeral, wanting to think about, what they would want should they not be able to speak for themselves. So we're talking about things like advanced care plans, advanced directives, and they're all big words, but we're really talking about what is it that you would want, and do your family know what you would want, should you not be able to tell them?
Do you just go, say someone's got, is it just for people who have like terminal illnesses, so they know they're going to die?
It is not just for them. No. It can be for somebody who just wants to talk about the end of their life and prepare for it.
So somebody who's not ill, nothing wrong with them, but it's almost like writing out your will.
That's right. It's a living will.
It's a care.
It's a care plan.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean. Give us an example of how you helped somebody.
Well, I helped somebody by first finding out what it is that they want, so they can get clear about what they want, and listening to them and finding out what they want. And in general, if somebody, let's say, isn't terminally ill, what they may want is just to, like I say, put their house in order. So they may want to think about things like, well, if I was to have a serious accident and I went into a coma, would I want to be kept alive, for example? And how long would I want to be kept alive for? If I were brain damaged and didn't want to, and I wasn't going to survive that, would I want to be kept alive? So it's just things like this. And what kind, do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? Do I want to go back to a different country? Who would I want at my funeral? What kind of a funeral do I want? Do I even want a funeral? What are my options? Do I want a living funeral? Some people have a funeral when they're alive.
I've heard of a living funeral.
Yeah, they have a party.
Yes, and do you know what? I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, they have a party.
Because I sometimes think, I've got my funeral music and all the people I want, and I want to have champagne, and I kind of think, well, I want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Me the same.
Yeah.
And if I do know, because I mean some of us die without knowing, don't we, that we're going to die. But if I did know, that's exactly what I would want to do.
Yeah.
So it's really about, Ruma, talking about this subject.
Yeah.
And then for people who are terminally ill, in the UK, for example, there's only 5% of the time that they would be in contact with a health professional. Now, this isn't a medical role.
No.
It's an emotional, spiritual role, and it complements the medical role. It's not instead of.
No, and some people find it difficult to talk to their families, their families don't want to talk about it because
don't talk about you dying.
It's such an emotive subject.
Right,
so having somebody who's an outsider who can be totally neutral and can just maybe suggest things, maybe carry out their wishes as they want it carried out. I think it's a fabulous idea. I really do.
Yeah. And it's like dying is, we're all going to die, it's the last thing we do.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is why aren't we choosing how that happens? We may not be able to choose the way it happens, but there's a lot of input. And it's like my youngest daughter's pregnant at the moment and she's making a birth plan. Now, it might not go to plan, but the fact that she's made it and she's sat down and she's talked about it, she thinks, oh, right now, I've got a plan.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah. And it kind of, I always think if you if you've got something going on in your head, if you either talk about it or you write it down, it really helps to get it out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we need to get going because we're running out of time. I mean, I could talk to you all afternoon. How do people, if somebody thought, I don't know if I need counselling, or, how will counselling help me?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I would say nobody needs counselling.
Good.
You're not going to die without it. Let's put it that way. So it's not a need. It's not a need. But what I would say is that if you're not living your life as you want to, if you feel held back, if you feel anxious, if the stuff in the past that you feel is bothering you, then talking to a professional about it could make a massive difference to your life.
It's true, because I remember when we were younger, we went to see careers advisors to decide what job, what profession we're going to go into. And this is the same, but it's like it's emotional and spiritual, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a space for you to connect with yourself and find out what you want, and if there are some wounds, if things that have happened, because things happen to all of us. When we've lived long enough, we've all had some suffering and pain, and it's not weak to not have gotten over it, because you don't get over these things. You just live with them with peace.
Exactly. So if somebody said to you, well, I've talked to my friends, my family, and I still don't feel any better. Why would a counsellor help me? Or I've had counselling in the past and I'm not sure about. What would you say then?
Well, first and foremost, I would say talking to a professional who's trained to hear you is very different from talking to your friends and your family. Your friends and your family have got some ulterior motives. Even they're unconscious, they don't know about it. They will probably find it very difficult to really be with your pain because they will feel it. They will feel it. So that's the difference as well.
It's the objectivity, isn't it?
And they might want to give you solutions as well, which you might not want.
Right.
Okay. And also, after a while of struggling with your problem, you could get to a point where you think, I can't keep talking about this to my friends because they must be sick of me by now. Or I'm sure they're thinking, why aren't they over it by now? So they stop talking. So coming to a trained professional is a neutral space, and somebody that's trained to hear and help you to hear yourself. That's what I would say.
Because we often see films and dramas where someone goes to see a counsellor.
It gets me dead mad.
Well, they just sit there, don't they? And they don't really say anything, and they expect you, the person who's...
they say the wrong things. Yes.
I think that would scare me if I just sat down and someone said to me, so tell me about... It's kind of...
And it's those kind of things that put people off.
Yes.
They see it on the TV and they think it's like that. I have never seen a good representation on the TV yet. Never, ever. Never, ever. And the last thing to say, Ruma, is if you really are thinking about this, find somebody that you can try it out with. Have a go. You don't have to go back again if it's awful and you hate it and you don't like them. Do you?
Absolutely.
You don't have to.
I think that's the fear as well. It's the fear of opening up to somebody that they're not sure they're gonna like. So
exactly.
Also, I know in America it's like bandied about. Everyone, kids from a young age, they go and see a therapist, they go and see a counsellor. And I don't know if perception has really changed that much with the British mind, in that we think it's a good idea, or we think we've failed ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you come across that?
I think that I would go to counselling. I think that's it's a great privilege to be able to have that. To know that. And the other thing is, I guess I never can get over enough to people how life-changing it can be, and how many people will come to me not believing it's going to help them, but coming because either they're at a last resort or they think, oh, to heck with it, I'm going to try it. Do you know what I mean? And then they come, and then a while later, they sit there and they tell you how much it's changed their life. And that is such a wonderful thing. It is amazing because it's real. It really has changed their life. They feel different about themselves. They like themselves. they're living their life in a different way. They're more at peace with themselves.
Absolutely.
You can't put a value on it, in my opinion. You know.
Now, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, wanted counselling, how would they go about it? People also sometimes think, how much is it going to cost me? What if I'm not really sure? Or how long is it going to be? All those sort of questions. Can you sort of quickly tell us a little bit?
Well, I will quickly say, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, either I can give my email or you. Is it going to be on the website? How does contact details?
Yeah, well, we can tell them now.
You can tell them now.
Your email is Faye, AFAYE .Carole, CAROLE at hotmail.co.uk.
That's right. And I have a Facebook page, the Counselling Partnership.
Okay, so
the Counselling
Partnership. Ways to get in touch with Faye. Yes, we will put your details on the Facebook.
So if anybody contacts me either that way or that way, I usually say to them, would you like to have a call? Shall we have a chat on the phone? Or would you like to come to see me? I mean, obviously with the coronavirus and lockdown and all the rest of it, that hasn't been an option until now. And then I would they can either come and see me, talk to me, see how they feel with me, ask all of those questions. And then if they're happy, we make an appointment and we go from there. That first session is a free session.
Wow.
I don't charge anything for that.
That's good.
However long that takes, half an hour or an hour, I don't charge anything for that. And then I let the person then decide if they want to go further. The way that I work, I don't get them to commit to any numbers of sessions. Every time they end one, I ask, do you want to come back again? If they do, they do.
Sure.
If they don't, they don't.
Sure.
And in relation to costs, Ruma, I believe that counselling is affordable. It is a professional service.
Sure.
So therefore, there is a professional cost to it.
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
personally use the sliding scale. So, it will go from, a really low amount to, maybe a more average amount for counselling.
Sure.
But I believe it's no more expensive than getting your hair done. Let's put it that way.
And we invest in our outward appearance.
Absolutely.
Let's invest in
the inner appearance.
Absolutely.
Which is more long-lasting.
Sure.
And as soon as you sorted the inner out, you have to spend less money on the outer because you're at peace with yourself.
Absolutely. And a lot of the time when we're feeling really down, we put a mask on of doing our hair, putting the makeup on.
Retail therapy, go and buy some clothes that don't fit us, stick them in the wardrobe.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Give them to charity.
I tell you what, I think it's been a fabulous interview.
Thank you.
It's brilliant. I just want people to know. I'm going to give them your email address again and make sure that it does go on the Facebook page. It's Faye, FAYE .Carole, CAROLE at hotmail.co.uk. And Faye has a Facebook page, The Counselling Partnership, and she's a lovely lady.
Thank you.
You've all heard her, and I get such a good feel from you.
Thank you.
Faye. I always go on gut, and it's great. So if any of you are struggling out there, don't struggle alone. Please get in touch with Faye. And also, if you wanted to employ a death doula, somebody who would help you plan out your last days, the demographics, let's not be shy here. The demographics in this area are on the older side, so there could be people out there thinking, I don't want to talk to my husband, it might upset him or my wife, so they could get in touch with you as well, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to finally play one of your songs that you wanted, and it is We Are the World.
Whoa.